Okay, guys, I think we are live. Thank you so much to all the people for joining in. In today's class, we will be basically discussing arithmetic. So, today's class is all about arithmetic. Arithmetic is one of those portions from CAT which carries the most weightage for quants, right? And in today's class, how the class will basically be going is we have some questions. We've curated some questions, some 13, 14 questions for you guys. So I'll put the question, I'll give a timer. Obviously, you guys can try it out on your own. And after that, we'll discuss the solution for it. You guys can give the answers for the questions in the chat box. So let's get started with the class. So arithmetic basically has all of these things. So in arithmetic, we have percentages, we have profit and loss, we have interest, simple interest, compound interest, we have the annuity payments as in like installments and all that stuff. Then we also have time, speed and distance, we have time and work. So all of this is basically what arithmetic is made up of, and also there's mixtures and solutions. So basically in today's class, we'll have a mix of questions from all these topics. We'll not be discussing any one particular topic as such. It will be a mixture of all of these topics. So stay tuned. We have some really interesting questions for you guys to check out. And also I would really appreciate if you guys, those are the people who've joined in, if you guys could please just like the stream. That helps us, that helps this video reach more serious aspirants like you guys. So we'd really appreciate if you could like this stream as such. Okay, let's get started with the class then today. Yeah, before we start with the class, I would like to tell you guys a little bit about the daily targets. So Cracku basically has something. So Cracku basically has something called the daily targets, where every day we have 15 minutes of mini tests basically across all the three sections. We have a 15-minute test for VRC, we have a 15-minute test for LRDI, and a 15-minute test for Quants. So basically what happens is that helps you build the consistency that you need for preparing, right? Every day if you're practicing for 15 minutes, you might be someone who's like, usually a bit busy, you might be office going person or something. So this is one of those things which helps you with the practicing a lot. So it's like 15 minutes of daily targets every day. And also you can make streaks, like if you are very continuous every day, so you can have streaks, and the people who have long streaks actually get like a lot of rewards from us as well. You can check it out at, you can Google search Cracku CAT daily targets, or you can go to our website cracku.in, and there you will find the daily targets. So you can like check them out. And also one thing key, the daily targets, all the video solutions, we have video solutions for all the daily target questions as such. Yeah, so it's like 5 questions of VRC, 5 questions of LRDI, and 5 questions of Quants every day for you to try out. Okay guys, let's get started with the questions then. We'll start with a simple question. Guys, once you're done with the solution, you can send the answer in the chat box. Okay, guys, so some of you have answered, some of you have given C, some of you have given B. We'll see what the correct answer is. Meanwhile, before we go into that, Ranveer Tomar basically said 1 RC is not enough. That is true, I agree. 1 RC as a practice is not enough. For that, we also have other things, right? So daily targets are basically one of the things which tell you like every day you should practice everything. So if one day you're focusing on RCs, you can obviously check out our study room where we have like plenty of questions for you guys to try on. So yeah, obviously that is not enough, but to keep a consistent approach, daily targets follow along. Okay guys, let's try solving this question. So the question says, in Kendra Vidyalaya, Ujjain, 20% of students are athletes. In Navodaya Vidyalaya, Ujjain, 25% of the students are athletes. If Navodaya Vidyalaya has 60% more students than Kendra Vidyalaya, then the number of athletes in Navodaya Vidyalaya is what percent of the athletes of Kendra Vidyalaya? Okay, so basically in this question, we are given two schools, right? One is Kendra Vidyalaya, KV. The other one is Navodaya Vidyalaya. Let's call it NV. Okay. So in KV, we have 20% of the students are athletes. So this one has 20% of them as athletes. In Navodaya, we have 25% of the students. Okay. Now it says ki, if Navodaya Vidyalaya has 60% more students than Kendra Vidyalaya, the number of athletes. Okay. So one thing we can understand from these kind of questions is that if you look into the question, everything they've given as percentages, right? Everything is percentages and they're asking for a percentage also. So because everything is in percentage and they're asking for a percentage also, in this case we don't have any numbers as such. So basically we can assume something accordingly, like what is the total number of something that we can assume according to our ease of calculation. So here what I will say is, if Navodaya Vidyalaya has 60% more students than Kendra Vidyalaya, so what I can say is, let the total number of students in Kendra Vidyalaya be 100. If the total is 100, Navodaya Vidyalaya has 60% more students, which means it is 1.6 times 100, which is basically 160. Now, if total is 100, then for KV, the number of athletes is how much? 20% of the total, right? So 20% of the total, here it is 20. And for Navodaya Vidyalaya, it's 25% of the total. Navodaya Vidyalaya has 160 students, so 25 means 1/4. So 1/4 of 160 is basically 40 students. So athletes, idhar mein we have 40. Now let's get into the question. The question says, what is the number of athletes in Navodaya Vidyalaya is what percentage of athletes in Kendra Vidyalaya. So required percentage, for the percentage, we basically do this. Number of athletes in Navodaya Vidyalaya, which is 40, divided by what percentage of athletes in KV? 20. So 40 divided by 20 times 100, which is 1, 2, right? So this is basically 200%. So the correct answer here should have been option C. A lot of you guys actually did answer option C. Mike, Arumita, Pushti, all of you guys, congrats. Okay guys, I hope we understood what this was about. If you guys have any questions about any particular solution, please let me know in the chat box. If not, let's move on to the next question. Where can I join this? On Cracku portal. I think it is only streaming on YouTube. Apurva Ranjan. I'm not sure if it's streaming on Cracku. Okay, guys, time is up. Alan says not able to solve this one. Okay, that's not an issue. We'll look into the approach for this, like how we can actually solve a question like this. So one thing to notice here is that this question can actually be solved in two methods. One can be to like do a little bit of algebra and then like use inequalities, which in my opinion is the easier one, because the other approach is basically to test each option individually, and that can be a lot of time taking, right? Here it says Sony has a certain quantity of mixture in her bottle containing water and milk in the ratio 3:5 respectively. Okay, she takes out some quantity of that mixture and replaces it with an equal quantity of water. If the ratio of water to the milk in the new mixture is x is to y, then select the incorrect statement from the following options. Incorrect statement. So we'll basically try to solve it and see if we can find a range or something of that sort, and then we can remove it. When we look into the options though, they say x is greater than y or x is less than y, something that like that. And also they say part of the mixture that is removed, 1/6 or 1/7, so the fraction of the mixture. Also, similar to the previous question, here also we see that there is no quantity given as such. Right, there is no definite quantity given that 100 liters of milk was there or something of that sort. So because we don't have that quantity, we are at the liberty to choose whatever numbers we want. So we can say let's say there is water and milk is in the ratio 3:5, right? So let there be 8A units in the mixture. So if there's 8A units in the mixture, this means what? What is water? Water is 5A units. Sorry, water is 3A units. And milk is 5A units. Now it says she takes out some quantity and replaces it with an equal quantity of water. How much quantity she takes out? Let she take out 8K quantity. 8K quantity is taken out. Same logic, why we are taking 8K, because this is a mixture, right? This 8A thing, it is a mixture. So it will, whatever amount we take out, that will have water and milk in the same ratio, which is 3:5, right? So now if we say कि 8K quantity is taken out, then इसमें मतलब क्या? 3K quantity was water and 5K quantity was milk. So that actually makes our calculations easier, because we have all these, instead of fractions, we are just dealing with whole numbers as such. So now let's look into this. Takes out the quantity and replaces it with an equal quantity of water. So then she adds also equal quantity. So 8K quantity was taken out. So 8K amount of water was also added to the mixture. Now they tell us ki final ratio is x:y. So in the final mixture, water is to milk is given x:y. Yeah, water to milk is given to be x:y. Now water is how much? Initially we had 3A amount of water, from which 3K was taken out. So minus 3K. But then again she added 8K amount of water. So then plus 8K. Milk ka, we had 5A amount of milk, but they've taken out 5K. They've not added any milk to it, right? Only water was added. So this. And this is equal to x/y. We can simplify this a little bit. Minus 3K plus 8K will give me a plus 5K. So 3A plus 5K plus 5A minus 3K is x/y. Now let's look into the options. X is greater than y, x is less than y, and all that stuff. When will it be x is greater than y, x is less than y? So this ratio will also follow that, right? The other thing to notice here is 1/5 part of the mixture, 1/4 part of the mixture. So what they're basically assuming ki what is the fraction of the mixture that is replaced. In this question, we had 8A units of the mix, 8K was taken out. So what is the fraction of mixture? What is the fraction of mixture that was replaced? Fraction of mixture that was replaced is how much it was taken out divided by the total. So that is 8K divided by 8A. So this is K by A. So the fraction that is replaced, the fraction that is taken out is K by A. So this basically tells us what? Ki these things now 1/5, 1/4, 1/6 or 1/7, all of this basically indicate the K by A part only. All of this basically indicate the K by A part. So now using that, we want, in the question we have K by A's, right? So we would want this also to be in that K by A form. How we can do that? We can basically just take A common. A common lega, so this becomes 3 plus 5K by A. And either also if we take A common, then we are left with 5 minus 5K by A. And this gets cancelled out also. So this x by y ratio basically is, let's say K by A, 3 plus 5K by A. Let's say this K by A is F, easier to represent. So this 3 plus 5F by 5 minus 5F. Now the question options want us to have x greater than y, x less than y and all that. So when will be x greater than y? x is greater than y when 3 plus, basically when x by y is greater than 1. This means 3 plus 5f divided by 5 minus 5f should be greater than 1. Solving this, we can basically have 3 plus 5f is greater than 5 minus 5f, or this is 2, 5 comes this side, so this is 10f is greater than 2, or f is basically greater than 1 by 5. Okay, this looks like a 6, sorry, 1 by 5. So what do we get basically? We get that x is greater than y when the fraction replaced f is greater than 1 by 5. Similarly, we can also have x by y less than 1. So essentially everything remains the similar. So x is less than y when the fraction is less than 1 by 5. And obviously x is equal to y when the fraction is equal to 1/5. So this is basically our answer. Now what we do is we check it with the options. This one says x is less than y if 1/7 of the mixture, so 1/7 is f, right? So x is less than y if f is equal to 1 by 7. So x is less than y means the fraction should be less than 1/5. 1/7 is definitely less than 1/5, so we can say this is a correct statement. This, on the other hand, x is greater than y if 1/6 of the mixture is replaced with water. X is greater than y when the fraction replaced is greater than 1/5. Now 1/6 is not greater than 1/5. 6 is greater than 5, which tells us 1/6 is less than 1/5. So this is the incorrect statement. Let's check for the others also. X is equal to y if 1/5 is replaced. Yes, we found it ki x is equal to y if f is equal to 1/5. So this is also correct. Similarly, x is greater than y if 1/4 of the mixture is replaced with water. Yeah, the fraction replaced should be greater than 1/5. So 1/4 is correct. So all three of these statements are basically correct except for the statement A, which tells us for this question A is the correct answer. Any questions in this, guys? Yes, Apurva Ranjan, you are absolutely correct. The correct answer is A. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next question. Okay, guys, a lot of you have given the answers. Harshavardhan, Sayeshan, they've given B. Soumya and like Madhavi says A. Arumita Mitra says B. We'll solve it and we'll see which is the correct answer. Before that, Mysore Park says, I hate when two topics are combined in questions like this. I think you're referring to the previous question. So, see, that is the thing with CAT, okay? They are very rarely giving us questions which can be solved entirely using just the one topic. It's usually like an amalgamation of many topics. So, for us to do well in quants, it is always advisable to, like, obviously, like, finish out the bigger chunks first. But if you have time and if you are starting out right now, you have a lot of time still. So if you have time, try to cover up like most of the syllabus, like the whole of algebra and arithmetic and at least some of the geometry portion at least. Right, so that these mixtures or like the questions where you have like 2 or 3 topics together, they don't like irk you as much. Okay guys, let's try solving this question. So this question says the content in the beakers A and B are 90 liters of milk and 90 liters of water respectively. Now 30 liters of milk is taken from A and put into the beaker B. After thoroughly mixing, 12 liters of the mixture is taken from B and put in the beaker A. What is the percentage of water in beaker A? Okay, so this is a very classic mixtures ka question basically. So we are given two beakers, right? We have A and we have B. A has 90 liters of milk. Let's just write it like this, 90 liters of milk. B has 90 liters of water. 30 liters of milk is taken from A and put in the beaker B. Okay, so 30 liters is taken out. So this means A mein kitna bacha? The amount of milk remaining in A is 60. This 60 is put in B. So now B has 90 liters of water plus 30 liters of milk. So what is the ratio of water is to milk now here? In B, the water is to milk ratio is 3:1. From the after thoroughly mixing, 12 liters of the mixture is taken from B and put it back in the beaker A. So what it means is, this is 90 plus 30, 120. From here, 12 liters is taken out. So if 12 liters is taken out, because it has been thoroughly mixed, what will be the amount of water and what will be the amount of milk? The water and milk will follow this ratio. So in this 12 liters, water will be 3 parts, which is 9 liters, 9 liters of water, and milk will be 1 part, which is 3 liters of milk. This thing is basically added here in A. So now what happens in A? In A, already we had 60 liters of milk. Now we are adding another 3 liters, which means in A the total amount of milk is 63. So we have 63 liters of milk and 9 liters of water. Done with the mixes, right? Yeah. Now the question asks, what is the percentage of water in beaker A? What will be the percentage of water in beaker A? It will be the amount of water divided by the total amount of the solution times 100. So what is the amount of water in beaker A? Amount of water in beaker A is 9 liters. What is the total amount of solution? 63 liters of milk plus 9 liters of water. That is 72 liters. So 72 liters of the total liquid times 100. Now we can basically just simplify it. So 9 8s are 72. 8 and 100, that goes with a 12.5. So the answer should be a 12.5%. So option B is the correct answer here. A lot of you got it correct. Well done, guys. That's fine, Alina. Silly mistakes, that is why we have these solutions, right? So that you can basically try it out once and then you can understand where you went wrong. Congrats to all the other guys who got it correct. Arunima, Anika, Apurva, Shubhang, Mahavir. Okay guys, I don't think we have any more questions in this. We'll move on to the next question then. Okay guys, let's give this question a try. A lot of you have answered. Harshvardhan, Shubhang, they're saying A. Sai Ashan says D. Okay, let's try solving it and let's see which is the correct answer here. Okay, so in this question we are told a manufacturer has 600 liters of a 12% solution of acid. How many liters of a 30% acidic solution must be added so that the content in the resulting mixture will be more than 15% but less than 18%? So how many liters ka X so we are given only. Concentration acid content in the resulting mixture is more than 15% but less than 18%. So let's assume that the acid content in the resulting mixture is basically let's call it K. Acid content in the resulting mixture is K. So we basically have the value of K should lie between 15 to 18. Right? That is the statement that we have. Now, how do we get K to begin with? Okay, we have 600 liters of a 12% solution. Let's call this solution 1. And 30% acidic, let's call this solution 2. So here we could actually apply the allegations wala thing. What it means is that solution 1 is here, solution 2 is here. Solution 1 is 12% solution of acid. Solution 2 is 30% solution of acid. So 30. The desired solution after mixing them, unka we have taken it to be K. This K will obviously be somewhere between 12 and 30. K. We can draw the allegation map like this. So we'll have 30 minus K and we'll have K minus 12. So to get the desired mixture K, we need to mix solution 1 and 2 in the ratio 30 minus K by K minus 12. This should be the ratio in which solution 1 and 2 should be mixed to get a desired mixture K. Now how much of solution A do we have? The first solution we have 600 ml, 600 liters, sorry. Second solution we have X liters. We have this equation. We have K ka range. We need to figure out X ka range. That is the, essentially after reading this through, that is what the problem statement boils down to. Now the thing is, K ka range we know. The easiest approach in my, which I think is like, let's make this equation, let's get K in terms of the other things and then we can just plug it in this inequality and then like solve. So from here we can basically say that cross multiplying this, so 30x minus kx is equal to 600k minus 12 6 are 7200. So this gives me 30x minus 72 comes this side, so this becomes plus 7200 is equal to minus kx goes to that side, so k we take common, we get 600 plus x. Now 600 plus x we can basically bring niche also, so that becomes 600 plus x. This is k. So the value of k we actually identified in terms of x and everything. Now we can basically use this in this inequality. Let's do that. We have 15, k and 18. This tells me that 15 is greater than 30. Okay, let's just take a 30 common because 15, 18, 30, all of them will have a multiple of 3, so we can just reduce it. So 30x plus 72, so like 240 divided by x plus 600, and this is less than 18. So we have 3 10s are, 3 5s are 15, 3 6s are 18. This is clearly non-zero because x will be something and 600 is also positive, so x plus 600 is positive. So we can basically cross multiply it to the other sides without actually changing the inequality as such. So this gives me 5x plus 600 is less than 10 x plus 240 this is less than 6x plus 600. Now we have two inequalities, right? Let's just solve them individually and then we can just combine them. So one to we will have this one, the other one we will have this one. Let's try solving this. This is what? This is 5x minus 5 6 are 3000 is less than 10x minus 2400. So this gives me 5x goes to this side, so this is 5x and this comes to this side, 10x plus 240, sorry, and this comes to this side, so 3000 minus 240 is 600. So we have x to be greater than 600 by 5, which is 120. So x is greater than 120 is like the lower limit that we got, ki x has to be greater than 120. From this second inequality, from this one we have 10x plus 2400 is less than 6x plus 6 6 are 3600. This gives me 10x minus 6x, which is 4x, is less than 3600 minus 2400 will be 1200. Or x is less than 300 dividing by 4. So we basically found the range for x. X has to be greater than 120 and x has to be less than 300. So what is the range of x? X lies between 120 से 300 तक. This is the range of x. Comparing it with the options, very easily we can say we have a direct match. Option A is the correct answer here. I hope everyone understood this. A lot of you answered. Harshavardhan, Shubhang, both of you were correct. Okay guys, let's move on to the next question then. Okay, before moving on to the next question, I would like to tell you guys about our new batch that we are starting, Cracku CAT 2026 Creators batch. It is starting from Monday, which is like in 2 days. So what happens when you join a batch basically? So, you know, as an aspirant, you have a lot of things to do, right? You need to figure out what you need to study. You need to figure out when you need to study what. So we at Cracku basically take all of that work away from you. We do it for you. And you basically just have to attend the classes and follow them. So in our live classes, we have daily live classes. In our batches, we have daily live classes. We have weekly revisions. We have sessions on YouTube every week, which are revision sessions. We have day-wise schedules, okay, like what you are supposed to study. If you are starting from Monday, then what should be the sequence in which you are supposed to study all of it. All of that is given to you. And also even after that, if you need to have like personalized guidance, like, okay, I need something which is like totally tailored to me. In that case, we also offer the one-on-one mentorship things. So you get all of it. You can basically, for more details, you can contact us here, or you can just Google search Cracku CAT 2026 courses, cracku.in. You can basically go and you can check out. Classes are taken by sir, ma'am, and we have like other faculty members as well. So yeah, contact us here and we'll give you any other detail that you might need for it. Okay guys, that being said, let's move on to the next question. Sorry. Okay, guys. What is the LOD for this question? This I would say is a relatively medium to difficult question. The other one also was that only. These are basically, the kind of questions that you can actually expect in CAT to come. Yeah, okay, so two of you guys have answered this, B. Okay, let's see, let's try and solve this and see what is the correct answer here. So this says a can was full of olive oil. Lata draws each time 20% of the volume from the can and replaces with groundnut oil. Usha draws 10% of the volume and replaces it with mustard oil. Starting with Lata, both repeats the procedure alternatively. So as in like Lata replaces it first, then Usha does it, then again Lata does it, then again Usha does it. Lulu. Okay. Starting with Lata, both repeat the procedure alternatively 2 times each. What is the ratio of olive oil, groundnut oil and mustard oil in the end? Okay, so here one approach will be to go step by step to see whatever is happening every step mein. That can be one approach. We'll discuss a second approach to this as well. First, let's do it with the longer approach here. So we have 3 types of oils, right? We have olive oil, we have groundnut oil, and we also have mustard oil. Initially, before any of that mixture stuff, replacement stuff started, the can was full of olive oil. Okay, so initially we can say I0, the first initially it was only olive oil, so groundnut oil and mustard oil is 0. Now when you look into the question, this is again one of those questions, right? We don't have any definitive figures given to us. They're telling us 20% is replaced, 10% is replaced, and then they give us ratios. So we don't have any definite values here, which tells us we can assume any definite value that we want. Now, what I feel is because the replacement is happening 4 times, I would prefer to have a number with 4 zeros, because 4 zeros would ensure till the 4th iteration, I still have at least a whole number and I'm not moving on to decimals. So I'll say let's assume initially olive oil was 10,000 units. 10,000 units ka olive oil tha. Groundnut oil and mustard oil was 0. So this was initially. What happens in the first case? In the first case, Lata draws 20% of the volume from the can and replaces it with groundnut oil. So which means olive oil jo tha, from here 20% is drawn out. How much olive oil is remaining? The remaining 80%, right? So this will be 0.8 times 10,000, which is basically 8,000. So how much did she replace? She took out 2,000, and us 2,000 ka she's basically added it groundnut oil. So groundnut oil now basically becomes 2,000. 2,000 units of groundnut oil. Mustard oil is still not in the scene, so mustard oil is still 0. Next, what happens? Then Usha draws in. So for the second iteration, Usha draws in. So Usha replaces 10% of the volume. So 10% replace karta hai, matlab how much will be retained? 90% will be retained. So olive oil, she draws 10% she removes from the volume, which means 90% is remaining. So how much olive oil is remaining? 0.9 times 8,000, which is 7,200. Groundnut oil will also be removed. So here also we will have 0.9 times 2,000, which will be 1,800. And finally, the 1,000 units that she removed, she replaces it with mustard oil. So now mustard oil gets into the game with 1,000 units. This process is repeated again. So in the third iteration, I equals 3, again she's drawing 20%, right, Lata, Lata is drawing 20% and she's replacing that 2000 ml with groundnut oil. So when she draws, she's basically drawing from this mixture, right? So iska bhi 20% jayega, iska bhi 20% jayega, iska bhi 20% jayega. All three of them will basically have 20% reduction, and then she's again adding groundnut oil. So groundnut oil will again increase also. So what happens for this olive oil thing? We'll have 0.8 remaining. 0.8 times 7200. This is 5760. For mustard oil, it will be 0.8 times 1000, which is 800. For groundnut oil, it will be 0.8 times 1800, which is the amount which is after removing which is there, but she is also adding another groundnut oil, right? So we'll add essentially another 2000. So this becomes 18 times 8 is 1440. So 1440 plus 200 is 3440. So this is what happens in the third iteration. Finally, in the fourth iteration, same thing will happen but with mustard oil, right? Because now they're removing mustard oil and adding mustard oil only. So here we have 0.9 times 5760, which will be 54. Yeah. So 5184. Here we'll have 0.9 times 3440, which is 3096, and here we'll have 0.9 times 800 plus additional 1000 because that amount was replaced with mustard oil, right? So this becomes 720 and 1000, it is 1720. So now we have the final amounts of like all of them, which tells me that the final ratio is basically 5184 is to 3096 is to 1720. When we look into the options, okay, yeah, so we have a direct match. Option B is the correct answer here. But this was like a much longer, much lengthier method. We look for something different, something easier here. What we could have done is, if we noticed the options, right? So it's like 7200 plus 1800 plus 1000. This is 10,000. 5760 plus 3440 plus 800. This is 9200 and 800. So this is also 10,000. Here also we have 10,000. And finally here also, right, like 6410. Yeah, 10,000. So what's happening here is that all of them are basically summing up to be 10,000. So what we could have done is, we could have looked at the fractions. Whenever we have replacement ke questions, there is one thing where you are like, you're adding something and all. But in this case, the thing was initially full of olive oil and we never really added olive oil. In all of these iterations, we never really added olive oil. So what we can say basically here is that amount of olive oil remaining is basically the total amount, which was we had taken to be 10,000 times 1 minus first replacement. What happened? 20% was replaced. So 1 minus 20 by 100. Okay. Times what happened in the second replacement? 10% was removed. So that is 1 minus 10 by 100. Similarly, we'll again have 1 minus 20 by 100, the third replacement, times 1 minus 10 by 100, the fourth replacement. Because we can do this, this I think all of us are very familiar with this formula. It is like for the replacement thing, like milk and water ka common example we have. So because olive oil is not being added anything, so this formula will hold only for olive oil. It will not hold for any other quantities as such. So what happens here is, this we can do 10,000. This is 8.8. So this becomes 0.8, 0.9, 0.8 and 0.9. 9 8s are it's 72. So here also 72. So 72 times 72 should be 4, 14, 28, 2, 49, 51. Okay, yeah. So 5184. So this should be 10,000 into 0.5184, which tells me that the quantity of olive oil remaining should have been 5184. If 1000 was total, then the quantity of olive oil remaining should have been 5184. Now we could basically just compare with the other things. Ki isme the quantity is 1000, so olive oil is 5436. So we could have rejected this. Same here, we could have rejected this. Same here, we could have rejected this. This way also, with like a lot lesser calculation, we could actually get to the answer and say option B is the correct answer in this. Any questions in this, guys? Did you assume 10,000 as the initial volume by looking at the options? Yeah, I did actually assume. No, what I did was, the number of iterations is 4, right? So 4 iterations, I was like, okay, 0.8, 0.9, whatever it comes. It means that kind of a number, like point something, that kind of a number will come at least 4 times. So I was like, okay, let's take a 10 to the power 4 ka number so that I can avoid the decimals. That was my idea behind it. The last part of the question says that it was done twice after the first time. Does it mean it should be, there should be one more iteration? No, both repeats the process alternatively 2 times each, right? So Lulu did it 2 times each. That is the focal point. 2 times each. So LL did it 2 times. UU did it 2 times. What's his name? Lata did it 2 times and Usha did it 2 times. Yeah, sure. Let's do the shorter method once more. So what happened in the shorter method, guys? This is the shorter method. So when we read the question, we see that olive oil was there, full of olive oil. After that, what happened was olive oil was removed. If you look into the table, you will see that these are added. The groundnut oil is added twice, mustard oil is also added twice, but olive oil is never added. So olive oil ka quantity is not changing that way. So what you could have said, ki like olive oil, how much amount of olive oil will be remaining? First iteration, this much is removed. Second iteration, this much is removed. Third time, this much is removed, and fourth time, this much is removed. Because in the first iteration, we had like 20% removed, right? So this second time we had 10%, again 20 and again 10. After that, we basically just did the simplification here. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next question then. Okay guys, let's try this one out. Question 2 is so far a good one. Also, everyone knows the second approach. Okay, that's great. I am glad that you found it helpful. I would say like all the questions that we were doing today, all the questions that we will be doing today, all of them are questions that you can actually expect in CAT. So this would be like a good practice session for you guys. Okay, so a lot of you guys answered B to be the correct answer. Okay, let's try solving this, guys. So it says X and Y are the two alloys which were made by mixing zinc and copper in the ratio 6:9 and 7:11 respectively. Okay, if 40 grams of alloy X and 60 grams of alloy Y are melted and mixed to form another alloy Z, then what is the ratio of zinc and copper in the new alloy Z? Okay, so this is a very simple question basically. So we have zinc and alloy in these ratios, and they've given us quantities also, how much of X and how much of Y is there. So basically we need to find out ratio of zinc and copper in the new alloy, which is Z, which is made by mixing these, right? So let's consider alloy X. In alloy X is how much of it is mixed? 40 grams of it is mixed. In this 40 grams, zinc and copper is in the ratio 6:9. So which tells me how much zinc do I have? I have 6 by 9 plus 6, which is 15, times of the total, which is 40. So this is 8. So zinc is 16 grams, which tells me how much will be the copper. Copper will be 40 minus 16 you can do, or you can 9 by 15 minus 40, whatever it suits you. Basically it will be 24 grams. This was for alloy X. Then we have another alloy Y. Uska we have 60 grams. In that, zinc and copper is in the ratio 7:11. So with 7:11, then what is the amount of zinc? Zinc would be 7 by 7 plus 11, which is 18, times 60. So 6 tens are, 6 threes are. So this will be 70 by 3. And copper will be 60 minus 70 by 3, which is 180 minus 70, which is 110 by 3. Okay, we are done. It says like mixed to form another alloy Z. What is the ratio of zinc and copper? So ratio of zinc and copper will be total amount of zinc divided by the total amount of copper. What is the total amount of zinc? 16 grams will come from X, 70 by 3 grams will come from Y. So it will be 16 plus 70 by 3. And divided by copper, which is 24 plus 110 by 3. Basic simplification we will do now. 16 threes are 48, 48 plus 70, whole divided by 3. Niche also we will have a whole divided by 3, so we can basically just cut it out, like no need to write it. 24 threes are 72, so 72 plus 110. This gives me 118, right? Yeah. Divided by, this is 110, so this is 182. Okay, so 118 by 182, I don't see anything. Okay, 2 se jayega. If we reduce it by 2, 2 5s are 10, 2 9s are 18, and 9 1. Okay, so the ratio of zinc is to copper should be 59:91, which tells us option B is the correct answer here. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward question this was. I don't think anyone has any doubts in this. Okay guys, how to do fast multiplication like you done in the fifth sum? Okay, so I think the fifth sum, it was basically like I did that 72 ka square which I did, right? So what I did basically was 72 square, right? 72 square, what we can do is 2 times 2 will be 4. Now what we do is this times this plus this times this. That is what we do. So 7 2s are 14 plus 7 2s are 14, and 14 plus 14 is 28. So I put an 8 here, carry me 2. Now we do this. 7 times 7 is 49 plus 2, which is 51. So that is how I got it to be 5184. These are like some tricks and tips and tricks which you can see in the Vedic maths and all of those kind of stuffs, right? Okay, guys, let's move on to the next question. Do put the answers in the chat box, guys. Okay, guys, so a lot of you have answered it, B's and C's. We'll try to solve it and we'll see. Okay, let's try solving this. This is Raman can do a piece of work in 16 days. Satish can do the same work in 8 days, while Ashok can do it in 12 days. All of them worked together when they started, but Satish left after 2 days. Raman left 3 days before the completion of the work. How long did it take to complete the entire work? Okay, so in work, time and work questions, we can have two approaches. One can be we first fix the total amount of work. Like when we fix the total amount of work, one approach can be we see the total amount of work is 1, and then everything we get in terms of fractions for that. I personally don't prefer that method. I prefer to have everything in nice numbers to work with. Okay. So what we can do is we can say that Raman can do a piece of work in 16 days, Satish can do the same work in 8 days, Ashok can do it in 32 days. Total work we will take, let the total work is basically the LCM of these three. LCM of 16, 8 and 32. Now this works for like all of the things. Like whenever you have a question like this, you can take the LCM of the number of days and that will give you a very nice answer for the total work to be done. So LCM of 16, 8 and 32, 32 ka multiple hai everything. So this will be 32 units. Let's say the total work is 32 units. In that case, Raman can do the piece of work in 16 days, which means for Raman, how many units does he do? The total is 32 units. He can finish it in 16 days, which means every day he does 32 by 16, which is 2 units. So Raman does 2 units per day. What are the other people? Satish. There is a Satish who can do the same work in 8 days. So for him, it will be 32 by 8, which is 4 units per day. And Ashok though takes 32 days to do the 32 units, which means Ashok does 1 unit per day. Now let's look into the question. The question says all of them worked together when they started, but Satish left after 2 days. So Satish effectively worked only for 2 days. Raman left 3 days before the completion of the work. How long did it take to complete the entire work? Let us take कि total में we had T days. We took T days to complete the work. Let's say कि for the total thing we took 3 days to complete the work. In that case, how much did everyone contribute? ठीक है. Satish left after 2 days. So Satish, who worked 4 units per day, he worked only for 2 days because he left after 2 days. So Satish contributed this much plus Raman left 3 days before the completion. We are taking it T days mein complete hoga. So Raman worked for basically T minus 3 days. So in these T minus 3 days, how much work did Raman do? If he does 2 units per day, he worked for T minus 3 days. So this should be T minus 3 times 2. And Ashok basically worked for the whole duration because we are not told anything. So Ashok is like 1 times T. What they did is, in these T days, the entire work was completed. So this should be equal to 32, which was the total work that we had taken. Now let's solve it. So the entire problem basically boils down to this simple equation which you can very easily solve. It is 4 times 2 is 8 plus 2t minus 6 plus t is equal to 32. Okay, now 8 minus 6 is 2 and 32 say 2 will go this side, so 32 minus 2 is 30. And either we have 2t plus t, which means 3t is equal to 30 or t is equal to 10. So the total number of days required would be 10, which tells us option B is the correct answer here. Very simple, very easy to solve question. No, Khushi, we are basically just doing classes, questions today. So you can basically start from now. You can follow up, and the other questions you can like check out later on. It's fine that way. Yeah, Zishan, work is 32 units. That is correct. Okay, let's move on to the next question then, guys. Okay, before we move on to the next questions, I would like to tell you guys about our free mocks and the previous papers that we have. So previous papers are basically like the best source of preparation, right? They basically are the pinnacle. Okay, like these are the formats, these are the kind of things that I can expect in an actual CAT. So naturally, we would actually want to give them as a mock. What we have done here at Cracku is we've basically taken the previous papers of all these years and we have put them as mocks for you guys to try. So you guys can attempt them as like sectionals also, VRC, DILR, Quants, or you can do the full attempt as well. And also we have the video solutions recorded by sir and ma'am from CAT 28 to 25, all the PYQs ka video solutions. Each and every question has been recorded by them. So you guys can go check it out. Also, we have 3 free CAT mocks for anyone to try. Like any one of you can actually go and even if you are like not enrolled with Cracku as a student or like with Cracku mocks series, you can actually go try out our free CAT mocks. Our interface is actually very close to how you have in actual CAT. Even the calculator that we have, it's like exactly how you have it in CAT, right? So you can basically take these 3 mocks, get a sense of, you know, what you are dealing with, like what kind of preparation do you need. So this can be like, you know, 0 level mocks also if you are there. We have video solutions for all of them, so do check this out. You can basically go to our website cracku.in and check these out. Okay guys, let's move on to the next question. No, Shubhang, we will not be adding it. We'll look into the question again, just to clarify the doubts. Okay, so some of you have gotten B as the answer. We'll try solving it, but before that, let's go back to the previous question for a second. So we did basically add Satish Ka, right? Satish left after 4 days. So this is the thing about Satish. So this was Satish, Raman, this was Raman, and this was Ashish. So we did actually add all of them, Shubhang. So I think you missed out this part. But yeah, so we basically did add it. Okay, let's look into this question, guys. This one says, tap takes 8 seconds to fill a jar and 6 minutes to fill a drum. Rahul has to fill the drum with the jar. First he fills the jar, then he brings it to the drum and pours the water into the drum. The time taken to bring the jar from the tap to the drum is 10 seconds. Okay. Unfortunately, the jar develops a leak which can empty the full jar in 40 seconds. Okay. Assuming the time taken to return to the tap is negligible, what is the minimum total time required by Rahul to fill the drum? Okay. So what this basically tells us, okay, there is a tap which takes 8 seconds to fill the jar and 6 minutes to fill the drum. So let us assume that the tap gives like x units per second. That is the flow of the tap. We take the flow of the tap to be x units per second. Okay, like every second the tap is giving out x units, x liters or whatever you want to pick. So the tap takes 8 seconds to fill the jar, which means the capacity of the jar is what? X units per second. Total it takes 8 seconds. So the capacity of the jar will be 8x units. Similarly, 6 minutes to fill the drum. 6 minutes is what? 360. Right? 6 minutes is 6 times 60, which is 360 seconds. So capacity of the capacity of the drum will be basically 360x. Now the scenario reads like first he fills the jar, then he brings it to the drum. Matlab jar se he fills out the jar, brings it to the drum, pours it in the drum and then goes back. And also we are told that going back time is negligible somewhere. Yeah, time taken to return is negligible. Another thing they tell us that the jar develops a leak. Which means what? If there is a leak in the jar, which means like the tap is filling, but the jar will also be like, losing some water, right? So while filling, it should have taken some time, but it will take a little bit more time to fill out. And also when after he's filled out the jar, when he's like taking the jar and moving to the drum to fill it, in the rasta also, in the 10-second traveling also, there also we lose some water. So those waters also we need to take into account, because essentially we want to fill out the whole drum. Take it. So now let's try to figure out how much time will it take to fill the jar to begin with. So in the jar, what's happening? Tap is contributing 8x. Okay, before that let's figure out how much water we are losing using the leak. So the leak can empty the full jar in 40 seconds. So for the leak, it takes 40 seconds to empty the whole of 8x units. It means 1 second, how much is it doing? In 1 second it is doing 8x by 40, which is x by 5 units. So in every second the leak is removing x by 5 units. The tap is giving x units every second, the leak is removing also x by 5 units per second. So now if I say that the total time to fill the jar is t, then t time mein tap is filling but leak is reducing. And this we are taking t time is taken to fill out the jar, which is basically 8x units. From here we can basically get an idea what the time taken to fill the jar is going to be. So this one, x minus x by 5 will be 4x by 5. This is equal to 8x. X is cancelled out. 2 or t is equal to 10 seconds. So the guy, what's his name? Rahul takes 10 seconds to fill out the jar. Now when he takes the jar all the way to the drum, he loses some water. How much water does he lose? In 1 second, the leak causes him to lose x by 5 units. In 1 second he is losing x by 5 units, which means in the 10 second of the trip he is basically losing x by 5 times 10, which is 2x units. When he was filling it from the tap, he basically filled out the whole 8x units. He filled out the whole 8x units, but traveling mein he is also losing 2x units. So ultimately he is basically having only 6x units. So in one trip, water he is getting 6x units only to the drum. And what is the time taken for every trip? let's consider the whole of it. ठीक है? It's like वो भर रहा है, he is filling it out, he is going, he is pouring it, and then he is coming back. Coming back का we are told is negligible. So for filling the jar, he takes 10 seconds, and then for the traveling also another 10 seconds. So one trip is basically 20 seconds time. Right. So now water in one trip, if he is doing 6x, how many trips will he read? So the number of trips that will be needed is basically the total capacity, which is 360x, and each trip is contributing 6x, which tells me that the number of trips needed is basically 60 trips. So Rahul will need to make 60 trips to fill the drum. Now one trip is costing being 20 seconds. So 60 trips will cost what? 60 trips will be 60 times 20 seconds, which is basically 60 seconds is 1 minute, right? So this is basically 20 minutes. So what is the time taken by Rahul to fill out? Minimum total time required is 20 minutes. Correct answer here is option C. Any questions in this, guys? Okay, I guess all of us understood this. Let's move on to the next question then. I'm glad you found it nice, Zishan. I hope you find this one also interesting. Do put the answers in the chat box, guys. Okay guys, so some of you answered B, some of you answered D. Okay, let's try solving this. So what does this say? It says that suppose that a maximum of 25 gram of salt dissolves in 100 grams of water. Any more salt if added remains undissolved and as sediment falls at the bottom. Okay. Now water is evaporated from 1 kg of a 4% solution at the rate of 28 grams per hour. After how long will it start sedimenting approximately? Take it. So what basically information given to us is ki 100 gram of water can have a maximum of 25 grams of salt. So if I have little more salt than 25, that will deposit as a precipitate, sediment. Yeah. So this is like 25 grams of salt can be dissolved in 100 grams of water. Okay. More than 25, that will deposit. Now we have a solution which is 1 kg of a 4% solution. 1 kg of a 4% solution means if the total volume is 1 kg, then 4% of the solution is salt. That means ki, in the 1 kg, which is 1000 grams, salt is how much? Salt is 4%, which is 40 grams. And the remaining 960 grams is basically water. Right? Otherwise, how will it be 1000 grams? So now the thing is 40 grams is salt, 960 grams is water. We want to figure out when it will precipitate, like when it will be that salt is depositing at the bottom. 25 grams of salt needs at least 100 grams of water, which means 1 gram of salt will need 4 grams of water, which means 40 grams of salt will need 4 times 40, which is 160 grams of water. Basic unitary method, right? For the 40 grams of salt, we need at least 160 grams of water. Currently, we have 960 grams of water. So, how much water do we need to evaporate? 960 hai. After 160, it will start to precipitate. So, how much we can lose? We can basically still lose 800 grams of water. Right. Now, what is the rate given? Rate is 28 grams per hour. So, water evaporates at 28 grams in 1 hour, which means 28 grams ke liye 1 hour, so 1 gram ke liye it is 1 by 28, and it means 800 grams ke liye it is what? Basic unitary method, right? 1 by 28 times 800 hours. Now this, so acha, we have a calculator, we can just do it. 800 divided by 28 gives me 28.57. 28.57 hours. Looking at the options, they have clearly told us approximately. 28.57 is closest to which? Closest to 29, right? So option A here is the correct answer. Yeah, you are correct, Zishan. You are correct, Sai Ehsan. Shubhang, you are also correct. Don't feel demotivated, Dengpa boys. See, basically the purpose of having these videos, the purpose of having these sessions is so that you practice more and more questions. So don't take it as something like, if you're unable to solve it, don't take it as a demotivating thing. Try to identify where you are lacking, as in like what is the thing which I'm not understanding. Is it, what sir is telling here, am I not able to understand that? In that case, it's like concept mein problems. So then you should go back to revising the concepts, studying the concepts again. If you can understand what's happening here while I'm solving the question, it means practice mein thoda kami hai. You're not practicing properly, you need to practice a little more. So take it as a positive feedback thing. These are the things what I need to do in order to get better here. Do not feel demotivated, guys. We have like a lot of time, like a lot of more questions, a lot more live sessions. We'll do a lot of questions. So if you are sticking with us and going through with it, I'm sure you will do well in quants. To water is 1000 instead of 960, silly mistake. Yeah, that happens, guys, but that's fine. That is the purpose of having these questions, so that the silly mistake keeps in your head and like you don't do the same mistake again. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next question. I hope you find this also interesting. Do put the answers in the chat box, guys. Okay, let's look into this question. Some of you have said B, some of you said none of the above. Okay, let's try solving this and see like what is the correct answer here. Yeah, this is a sequence in a series, but it's also like time, speed, and distance, right? So that is someone was saying ki, like they hate it when they have like interluding like topics which are mixed together. This is also one of those things. It is a sequence and series problem inside at its core, but this is also a time, speed, and distance problem. So let's try solving this. What is being told us? Okay, a ping pong ball is dropped from a 45-meter high multi-story building. The ball bounces back 3/5 of its distance each time before coming to rest. The total distance traversed by the ball is. Okay. So we are told that a ping pong ball is dropped from a 45-meter high multi-story building. So let's say from here the ball is dropped, right? So if the ball is dropped, this is 45 meters. This whole thing is 45 meters. The ball bounces back to 3/5 of the distance. So what is 3/5 of 45? 27, right? So it goes up 27 meters. Then obviously, because we know there's something called gravity, it will obviously come down again. So it will come down and then it will go again 3/5. So what we can do here is 27 ka 3/5 if we go on to find 27 by 5, that is in decimals, right? So why go for decimals? Let's take, instead of 45, let us just take L distance is this. Why we are taking this is because having a variable basically helps us solve this faster than actually having to calculate everything in this step. So if I take this from L distance, the ball was dropped. So then after that the ball goes up again. This will be 3/5 of L. And after going up, the ball again falls down. Again it will travel 3/5 of L. Now this will again go up. The ball is bouncing, right? So from here it will again go up. This time what is the distance? It is 3/5 of the original. Like 3/5 was first drop. This is 3/5 of this one. This will be 3/5 of this one. So this is this distance will be basically 3/5 of 3/5 L, which is basically 3/5 square of L. This will continue, right? From here the ball again falls, ball goes up, 3/5 again falls, goes up, again falls. So this will basically go something like this, it will end. So what we can say, how many of these will be there? There will be infinite such, because you drop a ball, it goes on up to infinity. So basically we can say, when we do it in real life, there's like other things which are in action, like friction and all that stuff. So we are not taking that into consideration. We are in a perfect world. So basically we can say that this goes like this. So what is the total distance that is traveled by this ball? First, so it travels yahan se L. So total distance traveled by the ball will be L, plus from here it is going here. So 3/5 of L and another 3/5 of L. So that is 2 times of 3/5 of L, plus second way here, this is 3/5 square of L, again 3/5 square of L. So that is 2 times of 3/5 ka square L, plus this keeps going on. This is a sequence now. So what Zishan was saying initially, ki this is a sequence and series. Yeah, at its core it basically is a sequence and series ka problem. Now we need to figure out the solution for this. How do we do it? One thing we notice is the next terms also, whatever we'll have, that will be like ek bar upar gaya, ek bar niche gaya. So that will have a 2 times of whatever the thing is, right? 2 times of 3/5 cube of L, plus that will keep going. So this 2 is a thing and it is there for all of these terms except for this one L. So let's make it 2L. Let's make it 2L minus L. Only because we want to take the 2's common. So 2L we can basically take common from here, 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 here and all of that. So it is like 2L we can take common. We'll have 1 plus from here we have a 3/5 plus from here we'll have a 3/5 ka square plus a 3/5 ka cube, and that goes on. And also everything we've taken, we've not taken this anymore, so this minus L is also there. Now this is basically what we call an infinite geometric progression. A geometric progression is something which has common ratios. So if I take 3/5 divided by 1, that gives me 3/5. If I take 3/5 ka square divided by 3/5, that also gives me 3/5. Similarly cube, square. So basically this is an infinite GP whose first term A is basically 1 and the common ratio R is basically 3/5. So what is the sum of this infinite GP? The sum of this infinite GP is basically A by 1 minus R, which is 1 by 1 minus 3/5. 1 minus 3/5 is basically 2/5. and this 5 though is at the bottom, so this just goes up, so this becomes 5 by 2. This is the sum for this. So now we can basically solve this. It becomes 2L times 5 by 2 plus minus of L. This is 5L minus L, which is 4L. So the total distance that was traveled by this ball is essentially 4L. What was L that we had taken? L was the initial distance, which is 45 meters. So the total distance traveled is 45 times 4, which is 180 meters. So the correct answer here should be option B, which is 180 meters. Any questions on this, guys? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next question. Okay, guys, let's move on to the last question for the day. Okay, before we move on to the last question, we have a very exciting announcement for you guys. So we at Cracku here are basically doing a 100% money back guarantee commitment. So basically, if you achieve a 99 percentile in CAT 2026, you get your money back. So if you have a 99 percentile, 50% of it is refunded, which means anything that you get from Cracku, like you might be taking the mock series, or you might be taking, let's say, the full course, basically anything that you take CAT related, and if you score a 99 percentile, we give you your money refund. 50% of the money is given. So if you spend say 4,000, we get back 2,000. And if you score a 99.9 plus, we are giving you a 100% refund. Whatever you buy, you get the whole money. We here at Cracku really value our high performing students. So we also have these meets and everything, right? So yeah, so this is for those people who are, work better with like some incentives, this can be your incentive to do better in CAT and get a 99 or a 99.9 percentile. Okay, guys, if you want more information on this or anything, you can obviously reach out to us at support@Cracku or like call any of our numbers. We'll be more than happy to guide you through. Now let's move on to the last question for the day. Do put the solutions, guys, in the chat box. Okay guys, let's try solving this. Before we get into it, I would like to tell you guys again about our daily targets, right? So like we told about this at the start of the session, I'd like to tell you guys again. So daily targets are basically 15 minutes of practice every day. So if you're someone who's like busy and didn't have time to like do anything or something as such, you can basically take the daily targets. They're like 15 minutes, 5 questions each from VRC, 5 questions each is 15 minutes, right? So 5 questions from VRC, 5 questions from Quant, and 5 questions from LRDI. That actually helps you build a practice, which is basically you need to practice all the 3 sections every day, right? That helps a lot with that. If you are someone busy or like let's say exams are going on, so tabhi you cannot like put it a full-time effort for CAT, just do the daily targets, right? 15 minutes, 45 minutes of your day, but you still get in touch with like all the you don't lose out on the thing as such. Okay guys, let's move on to solving this question. Some of you have said C. Let's see what the correct answer is. A pharmaceutical company manufactures 6,000 strips of prescribed diabetic drug for rupees 8 lakhs every month. Okay. In July 2024, the company supplied 600 strips of free medicine to the doctors at various hospitals. Of the remaining medicines, it was able to sell 4/5 of the strips at 25% discount and the balance at the printed price of rupees 250. Okay, assuming vendors discount at a rate of uniform 30% of the total revenue, what is the approximate percentage profit or loss of the pharmaceutical company in July 2024? Okay, so this reads a lot, but it is a very simple question. You just go step by step. It's a very simple question. What it says is total amount invested, as in like CP you can say, that is basically 800,000. Okay. They make 6,000 strips. Every month they make 6,000 strips. This month what they did was 600 was supplied as free medicine. 600 was supplied as free medicine. So what is remaining? 5,400. Now of this 5,400, 4/5 was sold and the remaining was also sold. It was able to sell 4/5 at a 25% discount. 4/5 of this and the remaining 1/5, right? So 4/5 of 1/5 of this will be what? 1/5 of this will be 1080, and the 4/5 of it will be 4320. Okay. 4/5 of it was sold at a 25% discount. 25% discount, and the balance printed price is 250. 250 is the marked price basically. So how much was the revenue from this? And these 1080, we are not told that they were sold in discount or anything. So inka we can assume that they were sold at the printed price only. So these were sold at 250 strip. So now what is the total revenue? The revenue here is basically this 4320 strips. These had a 25% discount. 25% discount means what? It means 75% of the amount. So that is 0.75. 0.75 of what? Okay, let's write it simpler. So if it's 25% discount, then we are getting 0.75 times 250, which is the price of one strip. How many such strips are sold? 4320 of them are sold like this. So this gets multiplied by 4320 plus this remaining 250. This is sold at the mark price only. So from here we get a 250 times how many of these? 1080. So this tells us what the total revenue is. Now we can actually solve this. Solving it, okay, let's do this. 0.75, right? So 0.75 is basically 3/4, and if I do the 4 here, this will give me 1080. So we have 250 times 1080. I can take this common only. 250 times 1080. So here we have a 3 and either to nothing, so 1. So it's 3 plus 1. So 3 plus 1 will be 4. And again 250 times 4 is 1000. So finally the revenue is 1080 and 1000 का 3 0. So this is the revenue. Now they are also telling us vendors discount is there. Vendors discount is 30% of the total revenue. If this is the revenue, 30% is vendors discount, then what is the final amount that I have? Right? So the finally, how much am I left with? 30% is discount, which means this is 70%. 70% of total. 70% means 7 by 10 times 1080000. Okay, 4 zeros. So 1 0 gets cancelled out. So 8 7s are 56. So this is the amount which I am basically earning. This is the amount which I am basically earning. How much did I spend? I spent 8 lakhs. Right? I think so. Yeah, I spent 8 lakhs. So if I've spent this much and I've earned this much, I've spent more than I've earned, which means I'm going in loss. And what is the loss? The loss is basically 8 lakhs minus 75600. This is the loss. What will be the loss percentage? It's loss by CP into 100, right? So loss percentage is basically loss divided by CP, which is the original. How much did I spend? Expenditure. I spent this much. Divided by 800,000 times 100. You can basically solve it very easily. So zeros to acha is fine. 800 minus 756 is 44. So that is 44,000 divided by 8 lakhs into 100. Cancel out all the zeros. So we are left with 44 by 8. 44 by 8 is very easily 8 5s are 40.5. So we have a 5.5% loss. Okay, looking at the options, we see the correct answer is option C, which is 5.5% loss. Okay guys, so that is it for today. I hope you guys actually found this class to be helpful. If you guys have any questions, otherwise we'll end the stream. Okay guys, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next Saturday.